Okay, so you want to buy a gym. Find a building, fill it with treadmills and squat racks, put a desk by the door, and watch the memberships roll in. And if you walk into any gym on a Monday evening in January, that plan looks like the smartest bet you could possibly make. Because every machine is taken, there's a line at the front counter, and the whole place has the energy of a business that prints money on demand. Here's what nobody tells you about that Monday in January. It is, by a wide margin, the single most misleading hour of the entire year. And if you build your understanding of this business on what you saw during it, you're going to spend the next 3 years quietly bleeding to death while the parking lot out front still looks reasonably full. Because the average person who signs up for a gym is gone in under 5 months. Not gone as in canceled, necessarily. Sometimes they keep paying for a while out of guilt or laziness, but gone as in they've stopped showing up, stopped caring, stopped being anything you can count on. And here's the part that turns this from a curiosity into the defining problem of the entire industry. It costs a gym roughly 5 times more to go find a brand new member than it does to keep one it already has. So you're running a business where the customers evaporate every few months, and where replacing each one costs 5 times more than holding on to them, which is a bit like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain wide open. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly how gyms survive that. Why 1 month out of 12 keeps the whole industry alive, and why the real money in a gym has almost nothing to do with the memberships you'd think you were buying. Let's start with what it costs to get in the door. There isn't really one thing called a gym, and this is the first place people go wrong before they've spent $1. There are at least 5 different businesses all wearing the same tracksuit. The budget chains surviving on sheer volume at 10 or 20 a month. The mid-tier commercial gyms. The luxury clubs charging $150 and up. The boutique studios built around a single kind of class, and the tiny personal training studios that don't sell memberships at all, and instead sell hours of a coach's time. That last one matters enormously by the end of this story, so hold on to it. Each of them is really a different bet on one question. Do you make your money from a huge crowd paying a little, or a small handful paying a lot? Whichever you pick, the first thing that'll surprise you is that the equipment isn't the expensive part. Everybody assumes it is. The genuinely expensive part is turning an empty commercial box into a room that can legally and safely hold 100 sweating human bodies at once. Commercial gym space commonly runs $18 to $40 a foot per year, and most landlords want first month, last month, and a deposit before you've unlocked the door. Then the build-out. The rubber flooring thick enough to survive a dropped barbell, the locker rooms with real drainage, the mirrors, and the thing almost nobody budgets for correctly, which is air. Because a room full of people generating heat and moisture for hours needs industrial ventilation a normal retail space simply doesn't have. And that's a full HVAC upgrade, not a couple of fans in the corner. Stack it all together. The deposit, the renovation, the licensing, the insurance, the opening marketing push, and a cash cushion for the slow early months. And even a modest gym generally needs somewhere between $150,000 and $500,000 just to open, with franchises landing higher once you fold in the franchise fee. And about half of all gyms fail within their first 5 years. Most of them not because nobody wanted to join, but because they ran out of cash before the members ever showed up in the numbers the spreadsheet promised. So let's say you cleared all that. You've got the flooring, the mirrors, the ventilation, the racks. Now comes the moment the whole business actually turns on, and it's the one thing money can't buy you in advance. Every person who signs up for your gym is, in effect, a coin flip, and understanding which way that coin tends to land is worth more than any piece of equipment on your floor. On one side, you get the member who shows up 3 times a week, builds a genuine habit, and stays for years. On the other, the member who signs up full of good intentions, comes twice, feels great about themselves, and then quietly disappears while the charge keeps hitting their card until they finally get around to canceling. And here's the uncomfortable little truth. For a long time, the second member was actually worth more to you than the first, because they paid the same monthly fee while using none of your hot water, none of your towels, none of your treadmill belts, and taking up none of your floor space during the crowded hours when their presence might have annoyed somebody into leaving. That's the version of this business most people have heard about, the one where gyms secretly love the members who never come. But the numbers today tell a harsher and more interesting story than gyms profit from your guilt. And it's this: those members don't stick around long enough anymore for the guilt to pay off. The average member now lasts something like 4 to 5 months and generates around $500 in total revenue across their entire life as a customer. And then they're gone. Roughly 1 in 3 members cancels every single year, and the annual retention rate across the industry has slid to about 2/3, down from the figures the vendors still love to quote from a decade ago. So the modern gym isn't a comfortable machine quietly collecting money from forgetful members. It's a leaking bucket. Water pours out the bottom constantly, whether you do anything or not, and the entire job, the whole actual business, is pouring new water in the top faster than it drains out the bottom. And the cruel part, the part that breaks first-time owners, is that pouring new water in is the single most expensive thing a gym does. 5 times costlier than simply keeping the water it already had. Which raises the obvious question: if the bucket leaks year-round and refilling it is brutally expensive, how does any gym stay full at all? The answer is that it doesn't, most of the year. It survives on 1 month. Somewhere around 12% of every gym sign-up in the entire year happens in the single month of January. And once you understand that, the whole strange rhythm of this business snaps into focus. Gyms lean into that month like their lives depend on it, because in a sense they do. Discounted joining fees, cheap trials, a wall of advertising all crammed into a few weeks, all designed to catch people in the exact window when the resolution to change is still hot. And it works. January hands an owner a huge slug of upfront cash in a wave of fresh billing. And for a few glorious weeks, the place looks exactly like that Monday evening you based your whole plan on. But the same wave that rushes in that fast rushes back out almost as quickly. Around half of new members stop showing up within 6 months, and among the ones who joined as a New Year's resolution, the vast majority have vanished by summer. February, weirdly, is the single most dangerous month of all. The point where the initial burst of motivation dies before a real habit ever had time to form. The owners who understand this bank the January surplus to carry them through the lean months when sign-ups slow to a trickle. The owners who go under are the ones who look at that January cash flooding in and mistake it for the normal state of the world, who lease a bigger space or hire more staff or take a bigger draw, as if that torrent were going to keep flowing in the dead heat of July when nobody wants to think about a treadmill. And this seasonal knife edge sits on top of a business already fighting a war on price it can barely win, because the market you're selling to is far smaller than it looks from the road. Here's the number that quietly kills more gyms than any other. Almost the entire membership base of any given gym comes from within about a 10 to 15 minute drive of the front door. That's it. Not the city, not the metro. A 10-minute radius, and everyone who lives inside it is your entire universe of customers, forever. That single fact reshapes every decision you make. The income level of the specific streets around your building has to match your pricing, because a luxury club can't survive in a budget neighborhood no matter how gorgeous the equipment is. And a budget chain in a wealthy area leaves money on the table it'll never get back. A competitor opening 2 miles away isn't a distant annoyance. It's someone reaching directly into your 10-minute pond and pulling out your fish. And since gyms compete almost entirely on price and convenience, The moment a cheaper option lands inside your radius, your most price-sensitive members are already halfway out the door. So you've got a leaking bucket, a business that lives or dies on 1 month a year, and a customer pool the size of a 10-minute drive. Now let me show you where the money actually gets eaten, because the costs that sink gyms are almost never the ones on the equipment catalog. Everybody budgets for the treadmills. Almost nobody budgets for the things that actually drain a gym month after month. And one of them is so mundane, it's almost funny. Music. Playing music in a commercial space isn't the same as playing it at home. The law requires a public performance license. There are several licensing bodies you often have to pay at once, and the penalties for skipping it run into thousands of dollars per song, enforced by people who actually walk into gyms to check. An owner who figures a personal streaming subscription is good enough has quietly taken on a legal exposure worth many times the license fee. That's a small example, but it points at the real lesson. The dangerous costs are the ones buried in a contract or a maintenance schedule nobody reads until something breaks. And plenty breaks. Heavy daily use grinds down treadmill belts and cable machines far faster than home use, so a gym is quietly spending real money every month just on repair. Utilities for constant ventilation and endless hot showers run into the thousands monthly. Payroll for the desk and the cleaners and the managers. Insurance, because you're inviting the public to lift heavy things and run at speed, and some of them will fall and decide it was your fault. None of these numbers is dramatic on its own. Stacked together, month after month, they eat straight into the exact margin the owner was counting on. And they explain why a business with a full parking lot can still run at a razor-thin margin, or slip into a loss during a slow season without anyone outside ever noticing. And there's one more cost that's really a design decision, and it reveals something a little dark about how this business survives. Because gyms discovered long ago that if leaving is easy, the leaking bucket drains even faster, so they made leaving hard on purpose. Signing up for a gym takes about 90 seconds and a phone. Canceling one, in a huge number of cases, requires a letter, sometimes certified mail, sometimes in person at the desk, with 30 or even 60 days of advance notice, which conveniently guarantees the gym collects at least 1 or 2 more months of dues after you've already decided you're done. This friction isn't laziness, it's a deliberate patch on the leaking bucket, a way of slowing the drain by making the drain annoying to reach, and it works well enough that regulators have started trying to force gyms to make quitting as easy as joining. But sit with what the existence of all that friction actually tells you about the business you're thinking of buying. If a gym's survival depended on happy, engaged members who genuinely wanted to be there, it would never need to trap people on the way out. The fact that cancellation friction is a core, deliberate, industry-wide feature is the business quietly admitting that a large share of its revenue comes from people who wish they weren't paying, and that if you made it easy, they'd be gone tomorrow. So how does anyone actually make real money doing this? The answer is that the members were never really the point. The money is somewhere else entirely, and it's the one part of this business with genuinely beautiful economics. Let's do the plain arithmetic of a membership gym first, because it's sobering. Say your fixed monthly costs, rent, payroll, equipment, utilities, insurance, software, land around $30,000, and you charge an average of, let's say, $89 a month. That means you need somewhere north of 330 paying members just to break even, and you don't get those on opening day. It routinely takes a year to a year and a half of slowly accumulating members before a new gym crosses into profitability, and every one of those months burns through the cash you set aside before opening. If a competitor lands in your 10-minute radius during that window, the runway can run out before the gym ever turns its first profit. And even once you're past break even, remember the bucket. With annual churn running 30 to 40%, a gym with 500 members has to sign hundreds of new ones over a year just to stand still. Not to grow, just to replace the ones draining out the bottom. That's the treadmill the owner is really on, and it never stops. Which is exactly why the second revenue stream isn't a nice to have. It's the thing that separates the gyms that thrive from the gyms that merely survive. Personal training. Here's why the economics are so different. A single trainer working one-on-one has a hard ceiling. There are only so many hours in a week, so even at a healthy rate, one coach working purely one-on-one tops out around $100,000 a year in revenue, and physically cannot go higher because you can't add hours to a day. But a coach running a small group, 4 clients in 1 hour, each paying a bit less than they would one-on-one, brings in far more for that same single hour of the coach's time, while each client still pays less than private coaching would cost them. Everybody feels like they won, and the hourly economics roughly double. That's the move. That's why so many gyms have quietly pivoted towards small group and semi-private training, because it shatters the one trainer, 1 hour, one client ceiling. The gym doesn't keep all of it. The trainer typically takes a third to half in commission. But even after that split, a well-run training program is dramatically more profitable per hour than a basic membership could ever be. One dedicated training client, coming twice a week at premium rates, can quietly be worth more to your bottom line than dozens of members who signed up in January and never came back. The membership fills the room and pays the rent. The training is where the actual profit was hiding the whole time. So now let's put a full year together and look at the 2 versions of how this ends, because they're both completely ordinary and they're separated by a shockingly thin margin. In the good version, you pick the right neighborhood for your price point. You hit your break-even member count roughly on schedule. You kept churn on the low end of normal. And, most importantly, you built a real personal training and small group program alongside your membership base instead of treating it as an afterthought. Under those conditions, a mid-size independent gym can pull somewhere between $500,000 and $1.5 million in annual revenue, at a profit margin in the low to mid-teens, which can translate into an owner taking home somewhere in the range of $65,000 to $180,000 a year, with the genuinely strong operators crossing well past that. A real, solid living for the capital and the grind involved. In the realistic version, 2 or 3 things go sideways, and none of them are exotic. They're just the normal weather of this exact business. Churn drifts to the high end instead of the low end. A budget chain opens a couple of miles into your 10-minute radius and skims off your price-sensitive members with a cheaper rate. Your equipment starts needing repairs sooner and more often than you'd modeled, adding another $1,000 or $2,000 to monthly overhead. And under those completely mundane conditions, that same gym slides from a comfortable margin into a single-digit one, or into an outright loss through the slow summer stretch, even while the parking lot out front still looks perfectly full most evenings. The difference between those 2 outcomes on one mid-sized gym can be well over $100,000 in a single year, and almost none of that swing announces itself. No fire, no scandal, no dramatic bad day. Just a slightly higher cancellation rate, a slightly slower ramp, a slightly heavier repair bill, all of it compounding quietly, month after month, until the number at the bottom of the spreadsheet looks nothing like the plan. And that, in the end, is the whole thing you'd actually be buying. Not the treadmills, not the crowd on a January Monday, not even really the memberships. You'd be buying a bucket with a hole in it and betting you can patch it faster than it drains. Almost everyone who walks in on that Monday will be gone by summer. The only question is whether you'll still be standing there when they go.